Hello and welcome. It's The Chat. I am Manny. My guest on the program this week is simply amazing. You can describe him as a gladiator, but more to it, he's had a handshake with 28 presidents from all over the world.
John Fashanu, a renowned footballer, was born on the 18th of September 1962 in Kensington, London, to a Nigerian father from Ogun State and a Guyanese mother. He attended Norfolk Primary School, England, from 1966 to 1970, where he got his first school leaving certificate, and Attenborough High School, England, from 1971 to 1975. John Fashanu, popularly known as Big Fash, made his first team debut at the age of 17, becoming one of the youngest players to do so. In 1984, he was transferred to Millwall for €55,000, after which he was transferred to Wimbledon in 1986 for €125,000, making him the most expensive player of his time. In 1988, John Fashanu and the Crazy Gang won the FA Cup at Wimbledon. He was voted the Wimbledon Best Player of the Year 1990 to 1991 as the top goal scorer with over 100 goals for consecutive seasons with 20 league goals. John retired in the year 1995 due to a knee injury he sustained in a game with Manchester United. Following his retirement from the game, he became a television presenter and co-hosted the popular UK edition of Gladiators alongside Ulrika Johnson in the 1990s. In 1998, John was appointed as Sport and Tourist Ambassador for Nigeria, and in 2003, John became the chairman of the Nigeria Football Association NFA Pro League Management Committee. In 2003, he came second in the second series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. He was also one of the founding members of Europe's largest black musical awards, the MOBO. John Fashanu has been married twice before, but is now single. His first daughter, Amal Fashanu, is a successful model and television personality based in Spain.
Welcome to the program, John.
Thank you, Manny. Great to see you.
John, you've lived a good life, haven't you?
Oh, man, I've been very, very lucky.
Yeah, but it wasn't that smooth from the beginning, was it?
It was not so.
Your early childhood was a little bit of was it something you like to recall?
Manny, I mean, where there's success, there must be failure.
Yeah.
Manny, I came from a broken home, as most people know now. Myself and my elder brother, we were fostered from England, and we were living in almost like a hotel, like a room with 300 white young boys for 2 years before we were actually fostered by a white lady and a white husband who took us to a rural area in England, Manny, called Norwich.
Norwich, yeah.
And we lived there as the only two black children.
Let's talk about your parents, your biological parents. I mean, they split up. Did you ever get to, make contact with any one of them?
Well, Manny, my mother was a nurse. She was from Guyana. My father was a Yoruba man from Abeokuta, Ogun State. He decided to recognize me when I hit fame.
What about your mum?
Okay.
What happened? Did you ever make contact with your mum at that stage?
Mum was lovely. I mean, it's normally the way that when you're abandoned or you're given out, it's normally the mother who gets the rough end of the stick. So my mother brought us up in London. She had 5 children. She could not look after 5 children. She was a nurse having a very small salary, and there she has 5 children. So she had to give us to an organization called Bernardo's.
Bernardo's, yeah.
So my mother couldn't cope at all with the situation, and let's be honest, Manny, at the time, my father already had 2 wives.
Eventually, growing up, got into football, and started playing professional football. You started with Norwich, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
How did you get in there? I mean, your brother was also playing for Norwich?
Yeah, he was a star at Norwich. So, whether I like it or not, that opened the doors for me to get in.
Apparently, he was the first black person to get a £1 million transfer.
He was the first black man ever. And he became the first £1 million player. That's a lot of money, especially then, Manny.
Yeah, but where did it all go wrong for Justin?
Where did it go wrong? Manny, you know the story. It's an emotional story. It's a crazy. It's a movie. Justin wanted to come out. And that's his name, Justin, wanted to come out, and he wanted to tell the world at that particular point that he was gay. For those of you who are watching, homosexual. That meant that he was swimming in the sea the wrong way, because we all had moved against him.
Well, did he give you any hint of this? I mean, you were the closest person to him at that time.
Manny?
When did he start feeling,
Didn't know a thing. Had I have known he was, I would have taken his girlfriend a lot earlier. I'm telling you that, Manny. Let me be clear. But no, seriously, I didn't know at all. And I still don't believe he really was, but he was doing it because he wanted attention.
What people say sometimes, is maybe it was your relationship that led him into committing suicide. Is that true?
Well, Manny, we're Christians, even if you're Muslims. One thing, there are some no-nos you don't go through. One is homosexuality. It's a no-no. One is committing suicide.
How did you feel when you heard about his death?
Devastated. No matter who your brother is, no matter what...
Was his behavior leading to all of that?
His behavior, I would say, at that particular point in time, was suicidal. I think that the routes, the doors that he walked through were crazy. He was a very, very wealthy man, so of course that helped as well. I think that the steps he was taking were very, very dangerous. The publicity he was getting was enormous, but it was all bad, man.
But what were you doing to help him at that time?
Let's not say I was doing anything to help, because it's a very difficult, delicate situation. Anything that you do where you think that you are helping will be seen as trying to infringe on his own rights. And I think, Manny, as well, the rivalry between us both was very, very high. Then I was playing for Wimbledon, one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League then. We were at the top.
Well, but that was when his football career started having a nosedive, wasn't it?
Yes, nosedive. And of course, he scored one of the best goals in the history of football. Great goal from 35 yards, which made him a star, and the accolades were there. But then, you've got to remember, you can't be a star all your life, Manny. You can't stay up there in the clouds all your life.
But he still rests in peace. Now, your career blossomed, as it seems, with the Crazy Gang.
Oh, wow. Manny, when you say the Crazy Gang, you see an automatic smile comes on my face.
I remember watching that FA Cup final.
That was wonderful. The FA Cup final was possibly one of the best moments of my life. And I've had an amazing, meandering life, Manny. That was when we played against the mighty Reds, Liverpool, at Wembley, the biggest stadium in the world, one of them, in front of 100 million people watching live.
You couldn't describe that feeling, could you?
Manny, where and how do you describe a feeling of, I don't even know the word.
And then suddenly Nigeria wanted you to come back home and play for Nigeria. And I think, if I remember, you declined the offer.
Oh, Manny, you're going on sensitive ground, Manny.
You declined. You refused to play for Nigeria.
Manny, that is not true. The English invented the game of football. The Brazilians took that game away. say we Nigerians took the game from the Brazilians, meaning the ball was in the air, the ball was on the ground for Nigeria. I couldn't play that system. I came on 3 occasions to play for the Super Eagles, met the man called Otto Gloria, was the Brazilian
coach, yeah.
I remember it very, very vividly. He would say, go to your right, the ball would go to the right, I would go to the left, I wouldn't touch it. The ball would go to the left, I would go to the right, I wouldn't touch it. And I could see it wasn't conducive for me to be playing there. The boys didn't get on with John Fashanu. They didn't even like me. The coach now came to me after the 3rd occasion of coming back home to my motherland, and he said, John Fashanu, listen, this game of football is a team game, young man, and the boys don't like you. They see you as JJC, Johnny come lately type of person. You know?
Aptly speaking, Johnny just come.
Johnny just come. And he can go, we don't care.
Right.
And the truth was, Manny, let me be very, very truthful. I was not good enough to play the Nigerian way of football. That's a confession which I've said, and I will continue to say it. The game of football in England was elbows, rough tackles, ball in the air, slide tackles.
What are you saying, that the Nigerian game was more tactical?
The Nigerian game was a beautiful, sophisticated, delicate, tactical game of football. And the game of football that the Nigerians play is similar to the Brazilians. Skills,
and you
wonderful.
were used to play with a crazy gang
I was
of
used to playing rough, yeah, a few punches here, thuggery, hooligan. That's the way the English game of football was played.
Remember before we started, this discussion on television now, you reminded me of the first time you came to Nigeria.
Yes.
And who brought you to Nigeria?
Oh my goodness me. My godfather, my leader, my father, MKO Abiola. Wonderful man. It's so emotional. He came to my house. There was my white mother and my white father looking after us. He came in with all his regalia. We'd never seen this before. It was amazing. It's something you never forget. Great, big, enormous, larger than life black man coming into a little kitchen, and he sat down and he said, you two are Nigerians. I want to take you home. My brother rejected it and said he's not going home. I said, that's wonderful. I want to go home. When I actually arrived the first time, I never forget the door opened of the plane, private jet, PG, MKO Abiola, and I opened the door, and for the first time that heat, whoosh! This is different heat to London, Manny, Norwich. This is a different type of heat. And when it hit my face, it's almost singed my eyebrows and my face. And I got down on the floor and I kissed the floor. Because I knew this is the motherland. I knew this was my home.
You have since lived here, in Nigeria. You've done so many good businesses here in Nigeria as well, haven't you?
I've been very lucky, Manny. I've been here now 15 years, something like that. And I love it. Even if anybody says anything detrimental about it, there's detrimental things you can say about any country, so it doesn't make us unique. But this is my home, and it's a wonderful place.
Have you ever been in prison in England?
No, never.
But you had the experience here in Nigeria.
Oh, I had a lovely experience here. And let me tell you, Manny, every experience you have is a blessing. I was introduced to, this is a wonderful story. I love telling this story. I was introduced to a gentleman who wanted to buy some land. So I thought I would know somebody who could sell some land. So I met a man who was selling the land. I didn't know he was fake. I didn't know that man doesn't actually exist. They told me he was a Saraki, and I believed he was a king. So when I went to take my gentleman to introduce him, everybody was going Saraki, Saraki. So I thought, wow, this young man must be important. I didn't know that it was a setup. Money changed hands, the deal went through, and the man didn't get his land. Now, whether I like it or not, Manny, it wasn't my fault. But sometimes you've got to be honest and you've got to claim your own situation. I was an idiot because I should have tested and done a check to make sure, is this man the Saraki of this area, or is it just stories? It was my fault. because I put the two together and I didn't check, and quite an enormous sum of money was handed over. Luckily, I had the capacity to pay it back.